man, the guy on the left got old quick. Maybe they didn't know that Connor and I were two different people, and they were like, man, last Wednesday, the guy looked actually pretty good. And muscle-bound and young.
Right.
And now, like 3 days later, he looks old as heck.
He's drinking energy drinks, and he's all messed up. Oh, yeah, baby. What's up? It's Chris Simms Unbuttoned. We're here. Yes, it's the three amigos. We are. The old guy on the left is here just because we don't want to disrespect Connor Rogers and have him confused with the old guy on the left of your screen.
I do look significantly older than Connor. That's
you
what's
definitely,
going on
especially
here.
since you've let the hair go lately. You've been definitely Johnny Beard manager over there.
It's gray.
So you got more grays. You're distinguished looking. The glasses, right?
Yes.
You know, have a little bit of like the Kyle Shanahan most interesting man in the world type of thing going on right now.
I'll take that.
But
still old. You
but still
can't be
old.
interesting
Still
and
not
young.
Connor Rogers.
Seasoned.
Right?
That's what we'll
Seasoned,
say.
yeah. Connor Rogers, what did we see yesterday? The clip of his brown hair, what was it?
I guess Sean McVay.
Brown
I'll
hair,
take
Sean
it.
McVay.
I don't know if I agree with it.
We
I'll
got
take
people, on the Tom Pelissero on the NFL Network. We've got it all. But
That's a thing now.
old is not him.
Oh,
so
definitely
Ahmed
not.
old. Connor not.
Although he works so hard at this point in the year where this will make you old fast.
I'm going to age
It definitely
poorly.
will.
Yeah, at this rate.
Yeah.
But it's all right.
It's all right. That's all right. What do you got to live forever for anyway?
No,
my
just
wife
in it to
always
win it.
talking about like, and I'm like, once I get past 80, I don't know.
House money.
Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, what 90s don't seem that fun. Anybody I see that's 90 or above, I just go, it doesn't seem that fun. Let's start over.
People just pushing you
Let's
around.
go
You can't do
over
anything
into
for
it.
yourself.
Right,
Yeah,
right. You
I
can't
like
do
that.
anything.
I'm gonna find.
How do you feel about
You're
that?
gonna be 80, and you're gonna be feeling good. I'm
I
gonna be
know.
like, hey, Chris, come
Right.
on, call it quits.
Yeah.
This is it. It's over. You said you were gonna call it quits here. You go, I don't know.
I know. It depends how good I feel. It depends how good I feel. But I also could be the type of guy, and I think you guys know this, right? I'm heavy on the pedal to the metal department in all areas of my life, where I'd probably be like, I'm 80. I made it this far. Damn, I'm doing good. I went this hard, this long. I'm still alive.
Keep
Let
going.
me just keep going harder.
To 100. Yeah,
right, we'll
100%.
see where it goes.
Well, we're going to take this podcast to 100
Yeah.
if you want to transition worth $1,000 right there. So we got Connor on. This is a dream come true because Connor has been grinding on these guys. That was put poorly, but we're going to look at their Hendekagons. and we're going to take a look at
you are just a full-fledged pervert lately. Not only so you got old pervert guy you've become all of a sudden.
He has been watching
You've
tape
been grinding with the
on
big
these
gongers, huh?
guys,
Is that what you've been doing?
He has been watching tape of these young gentlemen for a long time of their football abilities. Is that how I have to talk
There we
now?
go.
Yeah, you do for at least a little while. You do, and you're drinking your energy drink. And you think
that's part of the problem.
You think
here.
you're hiding that behind your two
But
computers?
we have
over there?
a draft expert. We know Chris has been in the barn watching tape now for weeks on end and all these guys. And so Connor does this year round basically,
he's
along with a bunch of
definitely
other
ahead of me.
things.
Right.
So he has known these players. He has seen the ups and downs. Now he sees what the rest of the public is saying about some of these guys you've been watching tape on for a long time. And so we will start the pod here. We have your defensive tackle rankings, right? So we'll do those
Got some
in a
good
little
ones.
while.
Yep.
But Connor has come out with your mock draft.
Yeah.
Is this mock draft version 1.0 or are we on like 7.5?
I feel like this is the fourth one
Okay, so there
right
we
now.
go.
But this is the only one I do where it's what I would do.
What you would do?
Yeah, every other one is predicting the picks.
Right.
So there'll be players in there that might not even be in my top 30 or 40
Yeah.
that I just think the NFL loves this guy.
Yep.
This is a fit. I get to be GM just one time. I did it last year. It's fun to go back and look at like what you were feeling good about and what you're like, well, I was way off on that.
Right.
It's a good exercise to finally take a break from all the rumors.
It is a good exercise.
Yeah.
I hear you. I every year when I get ready to do my mock draft, I usually ask them, should I do it this year what I would do, or
Yeah.
should I try
It's
to
a huge
find
difference.
a blend of what I think will happen, right? And it is interesting. And I love kind of just semi going through mocks in my head this time of the year anyways. That's how I get to things where just a few weeks ago, and this is going to come up with your mock draft here, but a few weeks ago where I start to play the game of like, oh, I could see, as I'm going through the draft, I could see this guy going here, this guy going there, this guy going here. And I started to get to it and went, wait, I've gotten through the top 10, and I know I haven't watched the tackles yet, but I know some of them are going to go here. But I haven't come up to Shedeur Sanders yet, right?
Right.
And that's where you start to play those games and you start to go, and now, oh, he's going to a visit for Pittsburgh today and be there. And that was kind of something I was saying a few weeks ago because of those type of exercises where you go, I could see him being on the board at 21. And it leads you to some good football thoughts and some conversations with people who know what's going on.
So
too.
let's start right there because
Yeah.
you went through the whole first round. We'll take a look at your whole first round and where you put, if you were the GM of all these teams, who you would select at that spot. spot. Let's start with Shedeur Sanders because you've said it. It's going to be the story of
the
day
draft.
one of the draft.
Exactly
the whole draft. Really,
Right.
what we're talking about is where does Shedeur go? We've seen some mock drafts. He goes 2, 3, maybe 20s. Your mock draft, you as a GM of every team, where does Shedeur Sanders go?
Not in the first round.
Wow.
And I will clarify, there's no trades in this.
Right.
If the Giants, the Browns go back into the end of round 1 and take
Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders, I completely understand that.
Right.
But with nobody moving out of these slots and how quickly the quarterback-needy teams you're already beyond it. You brought up 21. That's like the late one.
Yeah.
There's not a spot. I don't have a spot for him. And when we go through it, you'll understand, okay, that player's just too good for the Giants to pass up.
Right.
With the Steelers, which all signs we think is going to point to them going for Aaron Rodgers, they have a lot of needs that can be solved at 21.
Definitely.
Like defensive line comes to mind for me. So I think with Shedeur, he's kind of that fringe first-round pick. I won't be surprised if we're sitting there at pick 29 and he's still sitting there waiting.
I'm with you. I would not be shocked either.
No, and there's no Jackson Dart in here. I'm just not high on the quarterback class. And if I'm GM, I'm betting my career when I take a quarterback. So I did that for one guy, and that's Cam Ward.
Yeah, that's the only guy I was worthy of doing that for.
So do I
and
think
he does pat the ball, too, just so everybody knows.
Oh, God, this conversation. Right. So, yeah, that's what it came down to for me. If I was the GM of the Steelers, I'm not taking Shedeur Sanders at 21. There's going to be a lot of better players on the board that'll help us win this year.
That'd be a big decision. You're right.
Yeah, it's not an easy one.
No, it's not an easy one. I will say this. At 21, we talked about Kenny Pickett before and all that. I was kind of talking about this with Florio. I like Shedeur Sanders better than Kenny Pickett. But as you know, I didn't really think Kenny Pickett was a first-round pick back at that time either. So, and to his point here, and I'm kind of with you, right? I love Cam Ward, but I don't love this class.
No.
I like a lot of them as, I think this guy could be a good backup for a long, long time. He might be able to fill in. Maybe he could be a starter at some point in the right situation, but not a superstar. I think Shedeur is a starting quarterback. I will say that.
I'm with you.
I do.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's the guy. Again, you take a quarterback in the top 5, top 10, and expectation comes, pressure comes. You're expected to be able to carry a team to a degree in certain ways, and I certainly don't think he's that. He's a little bit more of a system, drop back, work the pocket type of quarterback, and that's where, I'm with Connor in that I don't expect it to happen.
Okay.
Right? I don't think he's going to go in the top 10. I really don't think he's going to go in the teens either, right? I think it starts at Pittsburgh and then somebody else trading up. I really do. And, we'll see what happens. But, again, like I said, I don't think I would be like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe he didn't get drafted in the first round.
Yeah.
I don't think that will be happening.
No drama who's going to go number 1. It seems like that's going to be Cam Ward to the Tennessee Titans. And so we can take a look. I think we have your mock draft, and we'll get some of the information. We'll go through all these picks. So here's the top 16 that we see. So Cam Ward, number 1.
Yeah.
Chris has said on the podcast he likes him almost as much as the Caleb and who we saw last year, and Jaden Daniels from Washington.
Yeah.
How high are you on Cam Ward? What do you think his ceiling is?
I like him a lot. I would have had him over a couple quarterbacks last year. I definitely would have had him over McCarthy. I think I would have had him just because of the physical traits over Bo Nix. And Bo had a great rookie season.
No,
but
I'm with you.
From a prospect.
From what you do in the prospect.
Yeah,
right? I said I would have probably made him 3. I probably would have still had him behind Caleb and Jaden.
Yep.
But in the mix with them going, I don't know. He's worthy of being in that combo.
That's the thing. He's worthy of being the number 1 overall pick and thinking you can restart your franchise or reset your franchise with him because the arm, the playmaking ability, and the demeanor. Those are the 3 things.
Right.
People are going to follow him. He's got a big-time arm, and he makes plays out of structure. When you have those 3 things, you can coach up a lot of the rest. So Cam Ward is justifiably the number 1 pick in this draft. Tennessee will do that, and I think it's the right choice.
Yeah, with you all the way.
Minus 10,000 to be the number 1 pick right now. So Las Vegas agrees with you guys as well. And it is becoming more and more clear, or at least Vegas thinks it is, on who's going to be number 2 and number 3. And it's exactly
Seems
what you
this
have
way
here. Travis Hunter is now minus 300 to be the number 2 pick going
That's
to the Browns.
crazy
there.
how much that
And
moved.
Abdul Carter minus 250 to go to the Giants or whomever is picking number 3. And that's how you see it here.
Yeah, I think it feels like, too, that Hunter would play more receiver for the Browns. I think he'd be the top receiver in this draft if you evaluated him just as a wide receiver.
Agreed.
So I have no problem with that decision if that's the route they go. The Giants with Carter is more interesting.
Ooh, baby.
Because you just have to take him at 3. That's my take. You have to take him. But I think you also then have to trade Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah, or it's just 1 year with all 3.
You
of
ride
them.
it out.
Either way,
Yep.
you ride it out. You don't give him the 5th-year option, and you just go there because they haven't extended the 5th-year option to him yet. I don't believe.
I don't think yet.
Maybe Pete will be able to look that up as we talk about that. But I'm with you. Abdul Carter, we're talking, like I said the other day, comes around once every 5-6 years, this type of guy. He's Micah Parsons. He's a Lawrence Taylor. You pair him with Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence inside. The Giants have something that would be an elite unit that could be game-changing. I would pray for that to happen for the New York Giants, and I'm with him on Travis Hunter at number 2. Travis Hunter is a top 10 pick at wide receiver. Travis Hunter, the DB, is a first-round pick, but not a top 10 DB in the NFL draft. He's a DB, and I know we haven't done DBs on this podcast yet, but I'd like to hear what you say because I know you heard me say this a little bit before we started the show. He's not an outside shutdown island corner, and I know Ahmed's heard me say that. He doesn't have the long speed to run with certain receivers in football. That's the reason you don't see 70 and 80-yard touchdowns for him at receiver.
Right.
It's a lot of good 15, 20, 25, 30, right? But that's about where it is. I look at him as more as a talented secondary player, almost like I brought up the name Honey Badger before. Safety, nickel, read the quarterback's eyes. If the ball gets near him, he's going to pick it off, right? He's a player, but he's not the guy you want to go, hey, go cover Malik Neighbors for 40 snaps man-to-man. That's not what he is. He will get toasted by people like Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, and so people have said this is, Pete was talking to me before the whole thing, and it was just like, it was a wide-open draft. And then it was like, oh, Cam Ward's going to go number 1. And now it's like, okay, Travis Hunter's going to go number 2. Oh, wait, Abdul Carter's going to go number 3. The draft now starts at 4.
Right.
The draft now starts at 4. And I know this is going to be an interesting discussion because we've done wide receivers, and Chris is not as high on Tetaroa McMillan out of Arizona. If you were the GM of the New England Patriots, you would take him number 4.
This is a brutal spot for New England because you're just praying you get either Carter or Hunter if you're them, and you don't. So you start answering the phones and see if anybody wants to come up and take Ashton Genty or whoever it may be. But if you're stuck in this slot, this is definitely one of the more bold picks of the draft. I have him 10th overall, so I don't have him 4th overall.
Yep.
But, man, they need somebody with contested catch ball skills for Drake May. They need that kind of perimeter target, that big-bodied target. And the flip side of this is I don't think Will Campbell's a tackle. So I'm not taking Will Campbell at 4. I think he's a really good player.
Right.
He's a guard. And we'll talk about him in a couple picks.
Yeah.
But New England, if there was a franchise left tackle in this spot worthy of being the 4th overall pick, it'd be a no-brainer. Some people will tell you that's Will Campbell. I don't view it that way.
I don't think so.
So I went with the receiver.
Right. Will Campbell, to me, is one of the guys I brought up a little bit on Monday of, like, things I don't understand about the draft, right? And everybody talking about he's a definite top 5 pick and a tackle. And not that I'm done with O-lineman yet, but I've seen enough to know there is no way he's a tackle in the NFL. He's a guard. So if New England wants to take him at 4 or somebody wants to take him at 5 or whatever, just know you're taking a guard. It's not that. And maybe he's Quentin Nelson. Right. And if that's the case, then so be it. Then, okay, I'm down for that, right? But usually a guard is not taken at that spot. It's rare. It really is rare, right? We've had some that have been taken to that spot for tackle, then moved to guard. Brandon Scherf, right? Remember him? He was kind of taken that way, and it was like, wait, no, that's not really. But, okay, he's had a good career as a guard. But, yeah, I think Will Campbell goes to guard almost immediately.
Might be like Skoronski.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like, oh, college tackle for years, but we're not looking at you there.
No. It's as we know, the NFL is a different animal, especially when it comes to the edge, because of the way the edge is played, and of course the actual players that are on the edge in the NFL. Both of it is a different game than the college game.
So if we can put up your top 16 again, there, your top offensive lineman taken is the guy out of Missouri, Armand Membu, going to the Jets. So you think he's the best offensive lineman?
I think he's the best tackle. Yeah, I think he's the best tackle. He played right tackle for Missouri this year. I think that's where he's comfortable. He's actually a guard recruit coming out of high school, and felt like for a long time he had a guard body. He was actually listed an inch shorter than what he came in at. So a lot of people were like, is this guy 6'3", 330, looks like a guard? He's not. He's over 6'4". He does carry 330 pounds really well with how explosive he is in his lower half.
Right.
He's got a bigger wingspan than Campbell. He dumps people in the run game. He gets after you in the run game. You watch the Oklahoma game. I mean, he was on their ass from the first play of the game, and he was letting them know about it. But the tape's phenomenal. When you are explosive in your lower half like him, you don't have to overset against pass rushers. I thought Campbell did, and that's why he got his face crossed over a couple times. I don't see that with Membu. Membu, to me, it's all there to be a legitimate right tackle, and that's the Jets' biggest need right now.
I got no problem with that at all either. And you're right. His lower half is real, to where he doesn't have to overplay anything. I mean, that's the good thing. He's got good feet, and then he knows that if, hey, I got to move my feet, because he's so powerful down there, he can anchor in pretty damn good from what I've seen to this point too.
You're putting your Raiders.
But hold on, we got to hit on something here.
What?
Because Tetairoa at 4, right? I just want to hit on that a little.
You didn't get to talk about that.
Well,
yet?
we just to hit on it because I think it's interesting conversation.
I don't want to see you guys fight. That's
No,
why I was
we're not
going to
fight because you heard me say too. Okay, before the show. I get it with the receivers. I know my guys aren't going to go in the first round. I get that. I still love my guys, right? I will take Kyle Williams or Jalen Noel over Emeka Egbuka or Matthew Golden every day. I will. I don't understand that right now. They're just safe picks with a nice emblem on the helmet that everybody's getting behind. And I'm not just saying draft pundits, teams too. That's how people miss in the draft. Oh, he's safe. He went there. He's got pretty good production. He's a good kid. It's for our culture. We'll take him in the first round, right?
Yeah.
That's how busts in the first round happen. It's either that or, oh, this guy's awesome at this one thing, but there's a bunch of other issues. We'll take a chance on him. It's one of those two ways. Tetairoa, though, is the only guy I sit here and go, other than Travis Hunter,
right, that
I would go, I totally can justify him being in the top 15 as a receiver off the board. And that guy after Travis Hunter off the board at receiver. I mean, he does have some rare things. He's a very good route runner. And his ball skills are through the roof, right? Now, number 4 pick is high. And he's a guy that I would probably say runs like, what?
4.54.
Yeah,
4,
I would
5,
probably say
8.
higher.
Yeah.
Exactly, closer to 4.6.
Yep.
He ran 4.53 at his pro day, right? 4.54 at the pro day.
Something around.
I would
there.
add a little more if he was on a laser and a gun at the combine for sure.
Although
right?
this year's combine
That's
seemed
a little
like a hot
suspect.
gun.
We've been talking about that. We
All
got
these
some challenge flags.
They're regretting not running at the combine.
But so I get that, and they need the receiver. My only thing I wanted to say off of it is, if this falls this way, I will be interested to see what they do, and I would think they're looking to trade down, right?
They have to
That's what I would
spot.
think from
Yes.
New England.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that out there before we moved on. Sorry.
And you have handcuffed yourself as a GM. You cannot trade.
He's not doing trades.
No, because you're
mock draft,
you're gonna probably screw yourself over with another team you're picking for, so it doesn't ever work that way. But yeah, this is definitely a little bit of a reach for a giant need for them.
All right, we're not going to be able to talk about everyone here in your first round, but I do want to highlight some of the most interesting ones, at least to me, because we're doing this podcast for me. You're the Raiders GM. And you are taking a running back, number 6 overall. You're putting your job on the line.
People hate this
for Ashton Jeanty from Boise State.
I just think he's that special. Where the Raiders now, you could legitimately say in a year they have the best running back and best tight end in football.
Yeah.
And that is how you're going to compete in this division. Is you have to be the best in certain areas of offense. Geno will be fine. Pete Carroll will coach them up. I think this offensive line is better than it gets credit for. The problem with the Raiders is you go through the roster. I would have liked Mason Graham here. He went 5 to Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. I'd like a corner here. There's no corner I'm taking here. Unless I get a clean bill of health at Will Johnson, everything is fine.
Right.
But there's no corner I felt like taking at 6. Jeanty is going to dominate out of the gate. They have a good enough offensive line for him to run behind. Geno could throw the ball down the field. You have Bowers there. I know people don't like taking running back at 6, but this is a different draft class.
There's not a lot of offensive difference maker like superstar players. He's one of them. And
Hampton, and Hunter.
Right.
And the tight ends.
Yes, and then they're void of those guys on their roster. So I can totally get behind that. I don't think Jeanty, number 6 to the Raiders, is crazy at all for all the reasons he talked about. And it's Pete Carroll. He's going to want to run the ball and play through the defense a little bit. He's not going to want it to be just Geno throw it 40 times a game and do that type of stuff. That's not the style of ball they're going to play.
All right, so some of the playmakers at tight end, you have a couple of them here in your top 16. Tyler Warren dropping maybe a little bit farther than we see in some other ones, out of the top 10, going 12 to the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, you said to Connor before you went, I've never seen him to 12 to the Cowboys, and his answer to you was appropriate. He goes, well, he never makes it this far in any mock draft, and
That's
really
true.
doesn't. I mean, he ends up with the Jets at 7, a ton, right? I've seen him with the Bears at 10. I've seen him with the 49ers at 11. So it is interesting, but he's definitely worthy of that.
Yeah, a couple things here. I mean, it's not just that Jake Ferguson is entering a contract year. It's that what you can do in 12 personnel with him and Warren this year would be insane. He becomes your number 2 pass catcher, which they need. He becomes an addition to your run game blocking, which they need. So with the Cowboys here, I would have loved to get any of the offensive linemen that went front, which was Membu, Campbell, and Banks. They're all gone. I wasn't going to reach on an offensive lineman in this spot. Warren, to me, is a top 10 player in the draft. They get a 12.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then just 2 spots later, you have the tight end out of Michigan. You have Colston Loveland which you were very high on, and Chris was higher on him as a run blocker than it seems like everyone else out there too. But you have him pretty close to Tyler Warren here.
He's incredible, and he's bigger than people realize.
Yes,
which is going to help in the run game.
Right.
He's a very refined route runner. He might have the best hands in the draft. I would say like him, Jack Besh, a couple other guys are in that combo.
Yeah.
His hands are phenomenal. The Colts need a presence in the middle of the field.
Yep.
It was Warren or Loveland all day here at this spot.
Yeah, I feel that all the way. I'm still surprised when you say that like people question his blocking a little bit.
All right, what do you think about his blocking?
Well, when you run the ball 40 times a game, like you're going to have
Yeah.
a few plays where you miss the ball. I mean, when you run the ball every play for a second half of a game, right? You're going to have a few when you're blocking Abdul Carter and Chop Robinson. I mean, okay.
Yeah.
You're going to have a few here and there.
What he could do on the move in the run game because of the athleticism he has is really, really
and he
impressive.
tries to finish people. That's what I like. It's there. The want-to's there. That's the biggest thing with him.
So now you're going to have a running quarterback under center, whether it's Richardson or Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor, and then Loveland's athleticism, both as a run blocker and pass catcher. That's a pretty crazy offense.
Yeah,
with Steichen, who will know exactly how to use them. That's the key.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me go back up on your draft board here because your second edge, you have Mike Green from Marshall.
I'm glad you hit on
You
this.
have him going number 8 overall.
My argument is that Green is closer to Abdul Carter than he is to everybody else. And I don't really think people see him that way, but he can win in so many different ways. The spin move, the outside speed to run the ghost move. He's got violent hands against the run. I think another guy bigger than people realize.
Yes.
Excellent high school wrestler, so you see the grip strength with how he gets off of blocks.
Right.
The Panthers, they need a dynamic pass rush threat on the edge. They spent a
Totally.
lot of money on the interior,
Yep.
which I was happy they did, and in free agency. Now you get Green across from Clowney. Now you actually have speed in your front.
I like this too, and I got no problem with him being here. I'm with you there. I mean, again, I think Abdul's special, but hey, him and Shamar Stewart to me were the next two best guys off the edge. I know I'm higher than on Shamar than maybe others are out there, but I really like Mike Green and agree with everything you said there. I really do. And I hear you're saying like he's closer to Abdul Carter than people realize. I understand that too.
Chris, who else there in the top 16 stands out to you? Who you want to talk about?
The one, my one here. My one is Jalen Walker.
Right.
I'm more confused by him maybe than anybody in the whole draft because I just don't see it, okay? My thing, and I want to hear Connor explain it, and let's have some good conversation here because I know he's physical. I know he's, built like a brick shit house, right? He's powerful.
Which is a good thing. That's a good thing.
It is a good thing. At football, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily great at outside edge rusher is why you would be drafting him here at this position. And I don't see that type of talent. I think people see like, oh, he's a stand-up linebacker, he's pass rusher, he's an athlete. Maybe he can be Micah Parsons. But what I would argue to that is Micah was an elite middle linebacker, like an elite, let alone an elite specimen. And then when you saw the plays at pass rush, you went, holy shit, that's impressive. I see this and I go, oh, hey, he's a pretty good linebacker. I mean, pretty good. But, I'm not like, oh, my gosh. And then a pass rusher, I go, hey, I like it. That's cool. He could do both. But I'm not like, oh, wow, right? I think there's a little bit of a Georgia bump here going on with this player a little, right? And, yes, that's one of the more polarizing guys of the draft so far.
So, Connor, defend the honor of Jalen Walker right
This
now.
is a tricky one, right? So I have him 16th, so it's a little bit earlier than I have him. But I think Saleh would like a playmaker in his front seven like this.
Yeah.
Fast, physical,
Bryce
strong.
Huffish is what you're kind of
right.
saying?
It's passing down, okay, put your hand in the dirt and fly off the edge. Okay, we could do some different things with you on earlier downs next to Fred Warner, which is kind of insane. So this is definitely one of those ones where you lean on the scheme, where you wonder, can they get a guy that could truly play off the ball and on the ball? But yeah, your questions are fair, Chris. Like guys like this have gotten NFL evaluators in trouble over the years.
Yeah,
where you go, oh, they could do everything in a college front seven, and then they could do nothing at the NFL level.
Right,
so there's definitely he doesn't have length, which is a concern for me. Being a pass rusher on the edge at the NFL level. So Walker is one of the harder projections in this entire thing. I find myself just somewhere in the middle with him.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
I think,
like
by
that.
the way, he could go 5th overall to Jacksonville.
Wow.
I mean, it sounds like there's some teams that like him, but there's also, I know teams that I've talked to that are like, hey, I'm with you. We don't get it either.
Right.
So he is definitely one of the hot button topics here in the first round for sure.
That will be one of the in the barn on draft day Thursday.
You're such an idiot. They took him there.
Sims 7 drinks in will be saying that,
screaming.
Just a few weeks from now. All right, so that's your top 16. A lot of interesting stuff.
His gong wasn't even that big. Ahmed said so.
Hey, he didn't do much, but Connor was grinding on him, so he saw some good stuff.
Yeah.
So let's go 17 through 32 here. Get a big picture view, and since we were talking about Edge and Mike Green and what you like there, and now we're just talking about Jalen Walker. Let's talk about the guy that Chris said that he likes, Shamar Stewart. You have him going 22nd overall to Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers.
This is a fun one because you can use him in some different ways in this front. If you want to play him on the interior on reps, you can. Obviously, he's going to be more of an edge rusher full time. That's something they need. You could argue they need both a D tackle and an edge player.
Yeah.
So they get a bit of a hybrid here in Shamar. I'd love to see him finish more plays.
Yep.
That's the number one thing. He comes so close so many times in the backfield, and it's almost like he's so explosive he loses his balance.
Yeah.
But this is a game wrecker for a front that needs. They're kind of in a transition period with this defensive line. Some losses in free agency. You bring back Khalil Mack. Now you get a younger presence up there that can be a disruptor for their front.
I hear you there. I don't dislike that at all. He'll be interesting to me. Of just, will he be on the board there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right?
He could easily go earlier.
Because there's going to be people that are going to be scared by the one sack thing and the things he's talking about, finishing plays and all that. But there's going to be others that go, wait, this is the NFL. Mahomes will pat the ball in extra time in the pocket. He's going to get there. Geno's going to hang in there and try to wait for somebody down the field.
Less quick game, you're saying?
There's less quick game. Quarterbacks don't just one read and run like college football. That's the big thing. So we'll see. But, that's going to be he's another hot button guy because teams that like specimens and size and physicality and maybe F the play up a little bit are going to be like, I'm okay with it. But there are teams that, production is real, and I understand that, and he's going to be an interesting one.
Well, we said it on Monday, too. It's like there's a lot of guys who are first-round guys, but you talk to a bunch of different teams, and it's where they have them ordered. It's like there's not a consensus, and I think some of the other guys you have there are interesting discussions as well, because you have Nick Scorton, Texas A&M edge, the teammate of Shamar, going above Shamar at 19 to the Bucks, and then you have Ezeraku from Boston College, who Chris likes a lot, a little undersized, but you have him as a first-round talent as well.
And those are the two guys it was between at 19 for Bowles, Ezeraku or Scorton. With Scorton, I try to lean more on the guy we saw at Purdue that was lighter and just in attack mode, and you saw the spin move, the heavy hands. I thought he was a pure pass rusher at Purdue. He was asked to do some different things and play a lot heavier at A&M.
Definitely. That's what you question with him and Shamar Stewart, because they play head up on the tackle on passing down sometimes. They're barely shade, and you go, this is not really conducive to getting pressure on the quarterback.
I asked Scorton about that at the Combine, and he's like, there's a lot more rules. It was a different scheme. It's, you learn
to block people and read things and hold his ground. I mean, that's what they do.
But I think in Tampa, he'd be able to attack a little bit more. I liked that he came in under 270 at the Combine because it looked like his playing weight this year was 280 on purpose.
Right.
I think he's just a better version of himself, closer to 265. So I just think he's got violent hands, which is what I liked about Jared Verse so much last year.
Yep.
That typically carries over. With Ezeraku to the Ravens, they need somebody with pass rush juice. Like, can you get off the ball, slip it outside shoulder of a tackle, bend into the pocket, and finish plays? That's what he does.
I like that. I do. The Nick Scorton thing, I like the player a lot. I'd love him to start on my team. I just don't know if I would value him there. That's
where do you take him?
Because what you're and I understand. You're right. His Purdue tape is more pass rushy. His Texas A&M tape is more hold your ground, set the edge. We're not going to let people run over us in the SEC. So you got to figure out what guy you're going to get there. What do you want exactly? And I'm happy to see you got Ezeraku going in the first round.
I think he'll make it in.
Now, what about, because we're on the subject, or James Pierce from Tennessee?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think he falls into this conversation anywhere? Because to me, I do think, again, in a draft where there's not a lot of elite, freaky athletes, he's one of them.
He is.
And I think I would be shocked if he didn't end up in the first round. Now, I'm not saying it's 15 or 12, but I think he's a first-round pick. And You got him and Mykel Williams, the other Georgia guy, that are not in there.
Both didn't make it in. I mean, there's things to like about both. Mykel obviously can read and react against the run. He's got the size. He has not put it together as a pass rusher.
You're playing
yet.
a projection of length.
Completely.
And we're going to line him up wide and let him get after the quarterback, and we'll see better stuff. It's a projection with him.
Pierce, I could see his career going literally on each end of the spectrum. Like, if he was a 12-sack guy, I'd be like, yeah, it's always been there. If he was literally a non-factor in 3 years, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not surprised. He's built like a speed rusher that wants to rush like a power rusher. I don't fall for those guys anymore. Because then you try to convert speed to power at the NFL, and when a 315-pound tackle with 35-inch arms drops his hips, you go nowhere. You go nowhere.
Right.
So I like that he could time the count. Like, he jumps off the snap really well. Tennessee, very odd the way they played their front. Him and Omarr Norman-Lott rotate so much where it's like Omarr Norman-Lott had like 84 snaps against the run at D-tackle.
Wait, can you explain that to me? He was one I had to go back and look. The corner from Iowa State.
Darren Porter.
I'm a little bit like, what? I don't get it. They're one of the best players on your team, and they don't play all the time? Like, what
That's
the
a
hell
Pierce
is
problem,
going on?
too. It's very, very strange. That's a little concerning.
I hear you. I mean, you draw conclusions at times, right? You go, I don't get it. Now, some teams rotate players and do stuff, but like we talked about with Darius Arnold last year. Remember the corner from Alabama?
I'm going Detroit.
Nick Saban likes to play man-to-man. The fact that he didn't play man-to-man said something to me. It's been man-to-man every play for the last 15 years. All of a sudden, these two corners came in, and he was like, I can't play man-to-man. I don't think he was like, I like zone all of a sudden, right?
Sure.
So there was something there. So I understand you there. We said with Pierce, right, when we did our draft rankings, my last line was, out of all my guys in the top 5, he's the one that I worry about his pass rush in the NFL.
Yep.
And he kind of explained it perfectly. He's not real bendy as the other guys, too. He's a real good football player. That's why I kind of said Leonard Floyd.
Yeah.
He's not as long as Leonard Floyd, but I think he's just going to be able to play the run. He's physical. He's doing that, but I don't think he's going to be a 10-sack guy. I'm going to say I'll bet you a pack of gum he still ends up in the first round.
I wouldn't be shocked if a staff goes, we can get the most out of him. We're like Washington.
Yeah,
That's the one I go back to all the time.
Because they're in the pass rushing business.
I would trust Dan Quinn to get through to him and everything would work out. But, 20th percentile missed tackle percentage.
Yeah.
He doesn't finish plays as much as he should. This isn't really a bigger deal, but he tries to slip under blocks against the run instead of setting the edge.
Yeah.
Team coaches won't put you on the field in the NFL.
No, you got to make sure you're in the right spot.
Yeah,
exactly
so there's some holes in his game that I get a little jitters about.
Yeah.
A whole pack of gum on the line.
I like
see if you pay up
or not.
Okay, hey,
all right.
Let's make it double or nothing right here on the guy you have 20th overall going to the Denver Broncos, wide receiver out of Ohio State, and Chris always devalues wide receivers out of Ohio State. He's done it again. Emeka Egbuka. Chris, I'll let you start. On your take on Emeka Egbuka and why you think he's not worthy of 20th in the first round.
I like the player. It goes back to a little bit of what I said, though. I don't see anything elite or groundbreaking that makes me think he's a first-round pick. That's what it is. And I do think he's being a little overrated, just like I talked with the Georgia guys. It's just like, wait, he's a receiver at Ohio State. He must be the next guy. It's got to be Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr. He's got to be one of these guys, right? That's just where this is all they do there, right? And I want to go, listen, I like him, but I don't see anything that, to me, with him or the Matthew Golden at Texas, that I would tell you that makes me think they're first-round type talents. I'd love to have him as my number 2. I'd love to have him on my football team, but I'm not looking here going, I'm so excited to orchestrate my whole offense around Emeka Egbuka, right? That doesn't do it for me. But at the same time, I know he works hard. He's a good character kid. His size is right. You get to see a lot of play against big-time football, so that makes people feel comfortable. He's a safe pick. But to me, there's a few guys, I think, in the first round that are being talked about as big-time first-round picks where I'm just go, I think they're just safe picks. They're not like big-time talents, and he would be one of those guys in that combo for me.
And that's the unfortunate reality of this draft.
Yeah.
Like, there's just a lot of guys that wouldn't be first-round picks in normal years that are going to be because they have a floor.
They
in this
do.
class.
A floor, or guys that are super good that I just think people aren't going to feel warm and cozy about because they didn't have a nice emblem on their helmet or didn't play in enough big college games.
Right.
I think that's what we're at. I'm more excited almost for some of the guys in the second round this year than I am the first. I'm having one of those years as I look at it.
Me too.
I feel like I've written 25 to 45 or 20 to 40 600 times in my notes when I read the draft,
yes.
right? So I feel like we know there's some super freaks and some guys that are no-brainers, but after that, it's going to kind of be how the dominoes fall, I think. Once you start to get to like 18, 19, 20, it's like one pick's going to be a ripple effect for the next 3 or 4 picks. And it could knock some guy that we think is going to be at 25 in the draft. All of a sudden we go, shit, he got picked at 35, right?
It
and that can
plateaus.
happen easily.
Yeah.
It does. It plateaus.
Really plateaus.
It's going to be about what teams like. It's going to get to a spot where they're going to go, hey, the elite guys are off the board, and our 4, 5, 6, 7 offensive tackles, we have a similar grade. So let's draft something else and wait for a little later, whatever, right? I think you're going to see a lot of that.
So you got 4 wide receivers going off the board in round 1 if you count Travis Hunter as a wide receiver, I believe.
Which
here.
he is.
You also have 2 running backs going off in round 1. You have Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina going to Washington at 29.
I like it.
I mean, how scary would that backfield be that you have Jaden Daniels and Omarion Hampton working together? It makes them a more physical downhill team. They obviously added another physical runner in Deebo Samuel in the offseason. You got Terry McLaurin. You probably want to get maybe some speed at wide receiver again later in this draft.
Yeah.
But it just feels like with Hampton, he's the identity guy that takes a little bit off of Jaden Daniels. When they're going to be closing out games. That's the difference with Washington. Like last year, everybody's surprised about them. This year, no. Like you're expected to be closing out games in the second half. Hampton is a guy that'll do that for you. He's physical in everything he does.
Everything.
Pass pro, run after the catch,
he's a sledgehammer.
Run downhill. He is.
And he can break your ankles too.
One of the best stories about him is when he was in high school. They basically like ran it. They didn't have a barbell that could hold the weight on that he was doing. It was starting to bend.
I had that problem before.
And it was like, all right, this guy is probably a little bit of a different breed out here.
Listen, I'm agreeing with everything you said. My question is, I don't know if he's going to be on the board at 28.
I don't know if
I think he flashes back into the conversation where here's 20. We know freaks in the draft. I think he's one of them. I could see. You
Denver
got Dallas
20.
at 12, a Tyler Warren. I would not be shocked if they went Omarion Hampton. I could go, wait, Schottenheimer, he's a run game expert. That's what he likes, right? You want to get Ferguson and CeeDee Lamb open down the field. You run the ball. Dak Prescott, he's not the guy you want to carry your team at the quarterback position. You need a little help for him there that way. I wouldn't be shocked if he went in the top 15. I really wouldn't.
So it looks like you've already won that steak dinner from CJ 2.5K. Chris Johnson was on the podcast. He didn't think he was going to be a first-round guy. Not that he didn't like the player.
He liked the play. He didn't see where it was going to happen.
Where it
Who
was
would
going to
take
happen,
him,
but there seems to be a couple of teams
I would lean that he will be.
Yeah. I'd be shocked if he's not, actually.
I mean, for perspective, I have him really high. Let's see. I have him as the 12th best player in the draft.
Yeah, right.
I can if you put aside that he's a running back and in a class that doesn't have that much blue chip talent, he should go in the top 20.
Yeah. All right, so Chris, 17 through 32. We'll take another look at it here. Any other player that you want to grill Connor about here? Forever hold your peace.
I just think they're good conversations, and I know we haven't done DBs on this thing yet.
Correct.
On our podcast, and my man Connor here is in round 7 DBs. Okay, so he's in a different.
It's ugly out there.
Yeah, but there's 2 guys. One's from Texas. Okay, Jahdae Barron. I always say Barron. I don't know. Jahdae Barron. Rams need secondary help, no doubt about that. So you're right. I see the secondary stuff. Where does he go? Because he's a good football player. He's another guy, like I would almost say with Travis Hunter, I don't want him outside on an island.
I would agree
he
with
can't
you.
do that.
I would agree with you. I would play him like
nickel,
as a big
safety,
nickel
right.
safety, which he's done a little bit at Texas before.
Right.
This was a landing spot I really like because they can get the most out of him, like the Eagles did with Cooper DeJean last year. It feels like the Rams could do that with Jahdae Barron.
I don't disagree.
Which is why I have Savone Revel going ahead of him at 24 because he's a true outside man-to-man corner.
I got you. I got you.
And I don't see anybody doing that. But Brian Flores, do you think Brian Flores, and everyone's like, well, they ran more zone last year because they had to.
Yeah.
He wants to get back to playing man-to-man coverage with a guy with size, speed, and ball skills. If Rebel doesn't tear his ACL at the end of September, he goes in the top 15.
Yeah.
Like Antonio Cromartie level freakishness.
I hear you there. Will Johnson is real deal, right, at a corner.
Yep.
Travis Hunter's a good secondary player. Revel is island-type corner. I think that in Kentucky's an island type corner too.
Maxwell Harrison.
Yes, I do. I
wish he was bigger.
I know. I hear you there. I wish he was bigger too. But I wouldn't be shocked if he ended up in the first round too.
I wouldn't either.
But the Jahdae Barron thing is interesting. Barron. I said it right this time.
Both the first name you didn't get. We just need a nickname.
Jahdae.
Jahdae Barron. Yep.
Jahdae Barron. Okay, I know. I gotta say it to myself before I say it. But yeah, he's another interesting one, and I see him sometimes going as high as 11 to the 49ers.
Miami
12,
at 13.
13, exactly. And I'm surprised by that, but he is a good football player, and he's a safe pick. So that's one that I wanted to hit on, and I'm with you with the Rams needing that. The other one is your last pick of the first round.
Right.
Walter Nolen is a guy we're going to talk about here at D Tackles here in a few minutes when you leave the show. But I'm not in love with what I see from Walter Nolen.
And I get that.
You do get it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be concerned
about. The
about.
negative is too negative when I see it.
Yep.
I'm not against negative plays, but there's too many of them, and the negatives are like, holy shit, he got pancaked, or he got totally thrown to the ground.
He's on the ground too much.
He's
That's
way
the
too much. And
Yep.
I have issues with that, and that's where I just don't see first-round talent there.
Yeah, he goes here because the Eagles, obviously, at 32, take an athlete on the defensive line that maybe is their next Milton Williams kind of player.
Right.
And the measurables are a little similar between them. With Nolen, he's my fifth defensive tackle. We had Graham, Grant, Tyleik Williams, and Derrick Harmon all go ahead of him. The problem with that is he was number one recruit in his class in 2022. He ends up transferring eventually to Ole Miss. He just always out-athletes everyone.
Yeah,
and now he's in a scheme that, with the slanting they do, he was allowed to do that. So I think the production is a little inflated with Nolen.
Agreed.
So there is a little bit of like that buyer beware, James Pierce concerns, I think, with Nolen as well.
Be interesting to see where he goes. There's definitely some guys in this draft that I'm intrigued to see where they go, how high they go, if they go in the first round, and all that. And yeah, as I said here earlier, I feel like I'm starting to get more excited about some guys that I don't see on these type of lists, right? I'm not trying to get against you.
No, I'm with you.
The second round guys who just don't make the evaluators feel as good or as comfortable, but I go, oh, man, there's more talent in some of these guys, right? It's just maybe they didn't play multiple years as a starter, or maybe there's something checkered in the past, or maybe there's an injury, but I go, damn, this guy is better than the guy everybody's talking about at 17 or 18 in the draft, but he's not going to go to somewhere in 40, 45, 46, 47, and that's why I'm pumped for the draft too.
And we will talk about some of those guys on the defensive line coming up, because we got to let Connor go because he has to get back to grinding.
Damn.
And he has to do mock draft.
Grind
on some guys and do mock draft 5.0 and then 6.0. Well done.
Well done. Way to bring some style and some youngness to the set. I appreciate it.
We need it. All right, we let Connor go. We come back. It is DTs, the big butts, on Chris Simms Unbuttoned.
Here he goes again.
Welcome back here on Chris Simms Unbuttoned. We've gotten older on the set. Connor Rogers, the average age has gone up.
Yes, we have.
Here, so always good to have Connor. Now we're looking at the DTs, the defensive
I like your
tackles.
UConn Huskies sweatshirt today.
Hey, another national championship
3
here.
years in a row here in Connecticut.
I've lived here 6 years. I'm a bandwagon fan, but that's okay.
I'm all right. I'm on the bandwagon too.
Might
I mean,
as
my
well.
tax dollars are going to that damn school. I might as well root for them.
Yeah. So as we sit here, no UConn DTs, although they have had Travis Jones?
Exactly, our guy on Baltimore.
Travis Jones.
He's a damn player. We're going to talk about some guys that remind me of him. Actually,
Oh,
here
okay.
in a minute. Yeah, we are.
All right, let's show the diagram here before we get into. You're going to be saying 3 tech, you're going to be saying 3-4 DE, all this different stuff, and so let's go back to school and inform us what you mean by all that.
Right.
Here.
Well, 3 tech really more times than not. 4-3 defense. You see there on the outside edge of the guard. Right. Those are your Warren Sapps, your more athletic type of defensive tackles. Right. The guys that are the F the play up type of. Well, Aaron Donald. Let me get him on the edge between the tackle and the guard, because the tackle's got to go outside and block the defense end. Mm-hmm. So we're in a spot here where an unathletic guard has to take on our super freak 3 technique, who's on the outside edge. He's strong, he's quick, he can do all that type of stuff. That's usually the guy that plays 3 tech, right?
Interesting.
Now, the bigger guys, your run stuffers, your Vita Veas of the world, right? Your Liam McNeil up in Detroit.
DJ
Reader, exactly. They're your nose tackle, shade nose type of guys. Now, Nose tackle is different, though, than a shade nose. Nose tackle, usually, if you're playing true head up on the center, is even a bigger human being and usually with longer arms. Because if you're playing head up, usually you're being asked to stop the gap on both sides of the center, right? Where the shade nose can be, hey, 4-3, yes, he's a run stopper who can take on double teams, but there is a little athleticism in there for him to shoot in the gap every now and then and be a nuisance, okay? So there's that. Then you have your guys that are 5 techniques, 4 and 5 techniques on the edge there. They usually head up on a offensive tackle or slightly shaded on the outside edge, not in a pass rusher mode. These are your Richard Seymours of the world, right, back in the day. Hold a guy up, roar, I'm stronger than you, I'm going to throw you wherever. Calais Campbell, that's what they do. Those are these kind of human beings. And these human beings that are 5 technique usually can play the nose tackle shade nose too. It's just a huge human. It's the one that can play 5 technique is a huge human that has crazy long arms too to dominate a huge human being as an offensive tackle who also has crazy long arms. So that's where that's a little bit of a skill in itself, but those are the kind of things you're going to hear about when we talk about these tackles.
So exactly, when you hear that, now you know what Chris is talking about. And the title of our groups here, because we're going to split up defensive tackles into a couple of groups, even more so than we just did there. And this one's more intuitive here because we have the F the play uppers.
Yep.
We all know what that is. You know, it's the guys that screw up the play, basically. And then you also have another tier, which you call the gap cloggers, which is going to be more of the nose tackle.
Nose tackle, shade nose type of guys. Not the guys you're looking to mess up or disrupt all the time. You're going, we want this guy to not be able to be moved in the middle of the defense. So now our awesome linebacker can go make the tackle. A la the Ravens and what you're talking about. They always got big people up front. They take all these blockers. Roquan Smith comes in and cleans it all up, right? That's what we're talking about with those kind of guys that clog it up.
Let's start with our Group A, the F the play uppers, and we start with the guy who Connor just had going number 5 overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars, your defensive tackle, Mason Graham.
Yeah, Mason Graham. He would be my number 1 D tackle overall. He's the guy. He is the guy. He is the guy. If we had a ranking here, he would be number 1.
In a good class of DTs, so it's not just by default.
At a good class of DTs, yes. Now, number 5, do I look at him in more years and go, oh, it's definitely like a number 5 pick type of talent? No, I think this goes back into our conversation a little bit of there's not a lot of elite guys and elite athletes in this class. He's one of them. Again, you know my phrase, there's not a lot of guys on the planet Earth that are 296 that can move like this dude. And this is a special mover. I think that's it. No doubt an elite athlete, elite mover, twitchy, explosive, can really change directions, can go side to side and play the run game that way, right? He can kind of take on a blocker, shove him off, and shovel down the line of scrimmage with the run play and make the tackle that way, right? Can really accelerate, coming off twists and stunts to where, like, he'll go off the backside of a Kenneth Grant on a little twist stunt to get to the quarterback, and you're like, damn, he, like, accelerated like a defensive end right there. So that stuff is all crazy good. He's going to be a handful one-on-one versus guards in the NFL because he's so athletic. Right? So that aspect of him is special. He can push the pocket. He's elite in that because, again, his quickness gets guards kind of shuffling their feet, and then he hits them with the power move, and they're on roller skates. So that's where he's really good. Now, he's not going to handle double teams and do that all perfectly, right? We had this talk about Braden Fisk last year with Florida State, but it's not that negative. He handles them. As I watched, I went, he's actually better with the double teams than I originally gave him credit for. But it's not going to be perfect. He's not going to be the guy that's always going to hold the ground. Guys and teams that like this guy are going to be like, we play a disruptive front. We're not looking for him to hold down one gap all the time. We might ask him to line up in the C gap, and they say set hut, and we want him to shoot through the B gap and get down and do that. But he is capable of doing all that. He's good against the run, right? He's not going to make a living two-gapping, but he can do it, right? He's really pliable and bendable. He's got very good hands. He can win in awkward positions. But, yeah, at the end of the day, he's a 3 3 technique. He's the guy you look at to go, get on the outside edge of the guard, win that gap, shoot upfield, create chaos all game long, and every now and then we'll ask him to do something else because he can, but not at a high level like he can do this right here.
So you mentioned, some of the size concerns with him. 26th percentile in weight, 12th percentile in arm length. So Daniel Jeremiah, NFL.com, was watching a Michigan game, and here's what he said. He goes, he is next to Kenneth Grant, who we'll talk about here in a little while. Yeah. And I'm looking at Mason Graham and his body type, and I'm like, gosh, maybe I need to adjust my grade. Maybe I'm just too high on this guy. Then I proceeded to watch the game, and I was like, nope. He's really, really good.
Yeah, it's hard to watch a game where you don't know where he is in any of the last 2 years, right? He's a special player that way. The other thing I love about him, phenomenal athlete. He can get stouter, but he plays hard and reckless, right? You know I'm big into that. He goes for it. He puts his body in unenviable positions to make tackles and do things like that, right? I wrote, like I'm not sure he's a top 10 talent in a lot of years, but in this year, I understand that. I wrote down 10 to 20, but I understand that he's probably going to go before that in this draft because I think he is no question the most elite defensive tackle in the draft, especially when it comes from moving chaos at the play up type of stuff like we're talking about.
Has been good for a long time. 4-star recruit, played all 14 games as a true freshman at Michigan, then was the Rose Bowl defensive MVP and national champion and unanimous first-team All-American, your number 1 defensive tackle, a Michigan Wolverine in Mason Graham. So then also in this group, F the play-uppers, a guy who's getting a lot of pub. You guys talked about him with Connor a little bit at the end. We've already touched on Walter Nolen from Ole Miss.
I don't love Walter Nolen. Now, it's not that I like him, but my conversation comes from I don't love him because I see things where he's in the top 20 of the draft or he's a definite first rounder, and I don't get that. I don't. Now, I see some of the disruptive good plays. There's a good D-line there. They did a lot of crazy stuff. I get that he is a pretty good athlete. But let me just read you a few things that I wrote here. Mm-hmm. Smaller-looking DT with really kind of a weird-looking body. His legs are not impressive or what I like at all. Doesn't really have a butt. Has no definition in his arms and has a belly. He's definitely not the run-stuffing type that can make a mosh pit or ankle versus double teams. I mean, I'm 20 plays in, and he's already been pushed back more times than Grant or Harmon combined, okay? Where I've watched games of them, and I'm 20 plays in, and I've already gone, this guy's been moved than the 2 guys I just watched, the Oregon and the other Michigan D-tackle. Like, it's not even close. He wants to shoot gaps. He wants to sidestep blockers. He wants to get to the ball, which, okay, is good. But a lot of that, too, leads to other big holes and him not being just like defensive coaches aren't going to love like, hey, he just does what he wants and flies through. Mm-hmm. That's like, Aaron Donald in year 3 when he showed he was like an absolute superstar. Okay, you did that. That's cool, right? But he's not going to be in love with that. Has very good get off for a DT, right? And he is instinctive to diagnose plays. Like I see him do things where I'm like, oh damn, he sees this play coming, and it's pretty cool what he's doing. But he will also do things, as I explained to you on Monday when we got done with the show. He will see a play coming and run back to the linebacker position and run over there to make the tackle. And you're like, the guy cut back where you were supposed to be. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you running around the line of scrimmage to go get the guy? You're a defensive tackle. You're supposed to be in there. Yeah. There's some of that I don't get it. He will avoid his area and not do his job. This could be good and bad, right? He does have good eyes in the backfield. I talked about the get off. He's pliable and bendable. In the NFL, though, he's a 3-tech or a crash end. He worries me as a run stopper. No question he can be a problem one-on-one for some guards in the NFL. But he could be the problem versus big run teams. He will be the problem. He gets pushed around. He's on the ground way too much. He gets dominated way too much at times to be known as a top 20 or first-round pick. Teams who like smaller D tackles, who like chaos, they will like him, right? He's an interior pass rusher specialist. That's what I would say. But, man, he would scare me, and he would scare me against big body run teams, like I said, and his body scares me altogether, and he's not very disciplined. And then I wrote 35 to 50.
He has a really interesting journey because he played at 3 different high schools in Mississippi and Tennessee, was a 5-star recruit, #1 nationally in the 2022 class. And so a guy coming in with a lot of pressure and a lot of praise.
Well, and that's why I feel like we're seeing that more and more the last few years. A little bit of like, we're never going to let go of that high school grade. That's just not going to happen. He was our #1 recruit, and he's going to be a top 5 draft pick until proven otherwise. And people won't get off of that, and I feel like that's a little bit of what's going on here.
Couple seasons at Texas A&M, then went to Ole Miss after that. First team All-American this last year, but projected late first round, early second round. We will see on him. Not in your top 5, though. Not in your top 5.
Not in my
Walter
top
Nolen.
5.
Indiana guy. Let's go to him. Defensive tackle, 6'1", 316 from Chicago, Illinois. Part of that great season for the Hoosiers. Their best, and since like our grandmas were around, basically.
Yes, seriously.
C.J. West,
one of my surprises of the draft.
So he's a projected round 4 pick in mock drafts, but you like the tape.
I liked him a lot, and I recognize this is not a guy that I'm sitting here is going to go like, I'm not trying to sit here on a what do I want to say, a perch and go, he will be our top 40 pick. Believe me, no. No, this is a guy that I like that's like end of the second, early third that I go, he could be a starter on a team and a difference maker, right? That's what he is. He's a little different. He's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Teams that like don't like smaller D tackles aren't going to love this guy, right? They're not. He's 6'1". He's 316. When you turn on the film, you're kind of like, this is just going to be some college bullshit where he's kind of good in college, but there's no way this will work in the NFL. Well, I was wrong about that pretty quickly, right? I mean, first off, smaller guy. He's like got the bowling ball compact type of look, right? But his get-off is elite, and this is a 3 technique that you just go, shoot the gap, shoot the gap, shoot the gap, fly through there, create chaos, right? He has elite get-off. He's explosive. He's quick to strike with his hands. That's the thing I love about it. Gets off quick, strikes with his hands quick, and really stuns O-linemen over and over. Like you see it in every game, multiple plays. Runs well. All the movement stuff is top-notch. There's no point in even discussing it, right? He can do some shade nose for a 4-3 defense. He's better at holding his ground than you would think. Since he's 6'1", and all his weight is kind of around his butt and his belly, he's got a low center of gravity to where when he gets double-teamed, he does not get moved as much as you would think, right? I was expecting like, let me turn on this game. Ohio State will move his ass out of the way. Oh, shit, he's hanging in there. Okay, he's better than I thought. Quickness is elite. One-on-one versus pass rushers in the interior, it's elite. It's elite type of stuff. His ability to hold the ground and disengage is pretty damn good. Great eyes in the backfield, probably 2 gaps, a little better than I thought. But with this explosive, violent hands and the get-off and really push the pocket and dominate, right? And he's got incredible center of gravity and balance. I'm going to say end of the second round. Good player. His size scares me, but there is no doubt he's a good player, right? The games that are going to scare you are like Notre Dame, when it's just run the ball, big people, run the ball, we're Notre Dame. Those are the games that you're going to go, is he going to make some plays for us in those games? Is he going to get worn down and pushed around, or are we not going to see him? And that's maybe the negatives, but, man, I like him a lot.
But a guy whose stock is rising. You said end of round 2. He's projected round 4, but it was just a couple months ago. He was projected to be undrafted, and so he was not even on people's radar. He is shooting up draft boards.
True 4-3 teams are going to like him.
4 seasons at Kent State, started a ton of games over there, and then went to Indiana 1 year. And this is, you say what you want about college football. It's great. These kids are getting paid now, and free transfers makes it confusing for us trying to see who's on which team, but for a guy like C.J. West, he was able to prove it against Big Ten competition this year.
It's huge. Exactly right. That's the positives we can't lose sight of here.
Yeah.
That people's lives are being improved, not only by I'm getting more money to go to this college and they're paying me, but I'm going to a school that now is allowing me to show my true talents because I'm not the only good player on my defense that just constantly gets game planned against and nobody gets to see what I got. Yeah. And now I got some other guys that help me out a little bit and I can show my true colors. And that's a great point by you. And don't forget that when the college football season comes around, all right?
But I'm not going to forget that. Right. But you still have to identify those guys that stay at those MAC schools like Toledo and our defensive tackle Darius Alexander.
One of my favorite guys in the draft. Well, I always like a good guy that's not getting the attention that I go, this guy's real, right? And Here's a guy that I would just tell you, I would take him over Walter Nolen every day of the week. First off, he's a bigger guy, 6'4", 305. He has long arms, and he's a better athlete. Like, no question. 305, he ran 4.95. He's got a 1.72 on the 10. A 1.72, there's pass rushers in this draft that ran 1.7s that we talked about the other day. So that's incredible. Has an unbelievable body. I love his body. Big, square-looking D tackle, more of the athletic look than the run-stuffer look. He's jacked, right? But he's got long arms and long legs. Good athlete for his size, twitchy, quick, can win with quicks, can get skinny, can shoot gaps. But what's even more impressive, the athleticism, is he's very stout, right? He's very stout at the point of attack, takes on double teams really well, gets off blocks really well, redirects, long arms, strong in the upper body, right? Just like the other guy we talk about, he's so violent with those arms. He stuns offensive guards a lot. He can two-gap. He can be – this is a guy here where I go, he could be a 3 technique. He could be a shade nose. He could be a 5 technique out on the edge, right, where he could just go. He's going to be able to do everything. Team like New England at the top of the second round is going to love Darius Alexander, somebody like that, right? Yeah, he's just got so much versatility and multiplicity in there. That's really good. I think ideally he's best at 3 technique, right? But he can do it all, and I'm really impressed by his run-stuffing ability. Gets off the ball, bendable, one-on-one pass rush value, right? Really good arms to disengage. The kid is a good player. 40-60.
Had a 58-yard pick six in his final game for Toledo. 5 seasons at Toledo, so he's an older prospect, 24 years old, turns 25 in August. Right now, projected round 2 pick, which is much better than it was in January when he's projected to go in round 6. And so a lot of people have started to turn on the tape and see what you see.
The Senior Bowl.
The Senior Bowl helped him.
Senior Bowl, he
sure.
whooped some ass there, right? I think that was the first start of like, oh, wait, whoa, he's doing this to the other good seniors? This is in Toledo?
I think we have a one-on-one, one of his one-on-one reps from his Senior Bowl.
He was definitely one of the
exactly
first clips we saw, I remember, early on in Senior Bowl practice where it started to go viral a little bit for him just dominating. That's the North Dakota State guard. Yeah. He's messing up there.
Got held.
Right? But you see, I mean, again, there's that shade nose dominating. Look at, I love the body. Here he is outside at defensive end, 5 technique. See what I'm saying, Ahmed?
Yeah.
He can do everything. And see, that's obviously what they see here at the Senior Bowl practices, these NFL coaches, is they're going, hey, let's try him here, let's try him there, because he can kind of do it all. And that's a very valuable thing in the NFL right now. Guys are most defenses, especially the defenses that aren't like Seattle scheme, that are looking to do multiple type of stuff. There's a lot of value in these football players. I love his look. I love his athletic ability. He's a guy, again, yes, I think he goes off the top of the second round. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if he went in the late first round.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
Sure.
He's that type of specimen.
So because we are the podcast of Gons here, you did mention all the things that he showed, and 4.95, 1.72 in the 10-yard split. He did a dodecagon, which is a 12-sided gon. So
damn.
That's a
so you really like
gon.
him.
That's a giant. That's a big gon. So here it is, and he's filling up the space in the gon, and so his athletic ability, his height, and his weight. Weight's 50th percentile, but the wingspan's big, and so there's a lot to like about your Darius Alexander from Toledo.
Yep, he's made for the NFL. He is. He's like I said, a Vrabel, a Ravens type D tackle. He's that type of guy, and I think there's going to be more love for him in NFL circles than people realize.
So one more player we want to talk about in the F the play uppers, and he is from Tennessee, projected round 3 pick in mock drafts right now. He was a 3-star recruit out of high school, spent 3 years at Arizona State, 2 years at Tennessee. He is Omarr Norman-Lott.
Well, you heard Connor bring him up. And he's one of the odd guys where you're like, man, this guy's a good player. But wait, this game's over? I've watched all his plays? What? He only played 20 plays? Like, what? The best defensive tackle on their team, and he's playing 20 plays? What the hell's going on? Wait, hold on. Let me go back to the start of the game. The full game. Who's starting over him? Is Warren Sapp and John Randall on their team? Did I miss them in the draft process here? Oh, no. So I don't know what the hell is going on there. He didn't start in a lot of games. He doesn't play a ton. But there's no, discounting what he does. Now, this is a 3-technique disruptor. Crazy, explosive, twitchy, right? He's a smaller type of guy. Got a great thighs and butt. You brought up butts before the break. This guy's got it, okay? And he's got a little belly in the middle, a little bit like, in theory, like our guy from Indiana we just talked about. It's not a huge hulking guy. It's great athlete with better than expected anchor because of the center of gravity and how they're built. They can hold their ground better than you would expect, right? They're guys that are, he's 6'2", 291, but he holds his ground like he's 6'3", 335. That's where I'm impressed with him. But another one where, it's disruptor, it's pass rush ability, it's doing all of that, right? Doesn't lose very many plays. He's never on the ground at all, really, right? He's not an ideal two-gapper, but is good instincts, eyes in the backfield, all over the ball all the time. Yeah, I really like him. I mean, what I wrote at the end is just like, he doesn't have many negative plays, if at all. He makes a lot of plays. He's disruptive. Why didn't he start? Were there better starters? I like him better than Nolen at Ole Miss. 4-3 disruptor, D tackle, but he's pretty stout too. And then I wrote 35 to 50. So that just tells you, again, my questions with Nolen, because he's such a hot button topic and I hear so highly of him, I compare people to him a little bit, and I'm just like, what? I don't understand that, but I like this guy a lot.
Interesting body, 17th percentile in height, but 70th percentile in arm length, and vertical jump was in the 75th percentile, broad jump too, so he's got some athletic ability and long arms, and so you like him, not in your top 5, but you like him more than most.
I like another guy where I'd go, it's late second round, it's late second round, maybe it goes into the early third round to where it gets talked about. I saw he was going out to a visit to the 49ers. I could see them liking him. Again, it's a guy that's be perfect for them. They play that 4-3 Seattle, shoot the gaps, disruptive, do all that type of stuff. I can understand that. Now, I don't know if they're thinking about him at the high of the second round, or I would think maybe at the top of the third, somewhere in there. But I wouldn't have a problem with either one, honestly.
So those are the F the play uppers. You got your number 1 D tackle in Mason Graham. Darius Alexander's going to be in your top 5 as well. We got to fill in the middle part of it. We will do that with the tier 2 players, or not tier 2. It's the group B players, the gap cloggers. How dare I call them tier 2?
The big butter stuffers.
They're too big to be calling them tier 2. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. So we'll do that when we come back on Chris Simms Unbuttoned. Big day here on Chris Simms Unbuttoned. We're ranking the big butts, the defensive tackles, the best ones in college football. We got the F the play uppers, and now we go to the gap cloggers. So this is the nose tackles, the ones.
You're real big. These are your big, overpowering type. This is not going to be like your sexy, shoot the gaps, sack quarterbacks, have these athletic-looking plays. These are going to be the guys that you don't really notice while you're watching TV until someone starts to point out and go, hey, they can't move Jalen Carter. Like, they can't move Vita Vea. He's going nowhere. He's ruining their game plan. And then you start to go, oh, my gosh, yeah, I'm actually seeing that now. Or you turn on the film and watch film and go, oh, my gosh, this guy here is just taking on double teams all game long, doing whatever he wants, right? And that's what these guys are. So they're not going to get the headlines, but these are where the great defenses are built, because you got to have some guys like this.
So you had Mason Graham as your number 1 defensive tackle this year, Michigan Wolverine. We'll give it away. His teammate, Kenneth Grant, is your number 2 defensive tackle.
He is. He's my number 2 defensive tackle. I loved him. I liked him more than I thought, really. I mean, first off, it's just got that big boy defensive tackle body, right? It's a run-stopping D tackle. Not sloppy at all, right? Wish his butt was a little bigger, I wrote. He is a little knock-kneed, but the legs overall are athletic for this type of player. And he's got a little belly, of course, which I always expect. But, man, for 331, twitchy, right? Trying to get up the field, he can do that. He's an incredible run stuffer. Holds his ground. You can't move him, right? He can't be moved. That's why he was a perfect complement to Mason Graham. Mason Graham could be athletic. Let me do this, do that. And then they were like, well, yeah, but this guy over here has got 2 gaps, so don't worry. And he can 2-gap at a very high level, okay? I wish his arms were maybe a hair longer. There's more athletic potential untapped with this kid, too. Again, what he was asked to do, he didn't always get to unleash just let me shoot a gap, let me go. They asked him to take on the double team, hold this guy up and read the play and then disengage. So that doesn't lead to sexy highlight type plays. But I think there's more in there than what we've seen so far. He runs well. He's got good quicks, right? Like I said, he has the ability to be disruptive if he's given more opportunities. The more you watch, the more you start to see, damn, he is disruptive as you go along. Gets skinny, can just swim, move, and get through the backfield, can really get off blocks really well. And his ability, again, to move side to side in the run game. Because a lot of times, hey, you got a guy, you're blocking him, you disengage, and you got to kind of shuffle down the line of scrimmage as the runner's going outside because you don't want to totally avoid your area like that. He's very good at stuff like that, right? Can accelerate into the backfield. He can push the pocket. He never loses a play. That's my big thing with him, okay? He is immovable. Can play nose tackle, shade nose, could play 3 technique or 5 technique. Has games go where I go, I'm not sure there's one negative play. He also has some good bend and pliability. The more I watched him, the more I liked. I thought of Kenny Clark. I thought of DJ Reader. I thought of those type of players. I wrote 20 to 32, and I might be a little low on that. I might be 15 to 30, really.
Well, to Jim Harbaugh, you're low because he called him a gift from the football gods at 6'4", 331. And in 2023, he did have one viral play where he chased down Katron Allen, the running back from Penn State, and made a tackle from behind, preventing a touchdown. Coach Jim Harbaugh called it maybe one of the best plays he has ever seen. We have some video of him at his pro day as well.
I wouldn't be shocked if he went to the Chargers in the 20s there.
Oh, totally.
Right? There's the knock need, though. Can we rewind that so he can see that? Okay, I would like to just see that again. See how his knees go inwards a little bit?
Yeah.
Right, that's the stuff I look at. A little weird there, but all good. Okay, so let's see it, though. He can move, this guy. He really can. He's got a little extra baggage up top, that's for sure. We can see that.
Yeah.
But other than that, you can see that he moves pretty easily. It's not a lot of hard work. Jumps good. I mean, again, this stuff here, you just got to remember, you're watching a guy that's over 330 pounds do it. It's pretty damn special.
I'd like to hear him talk here, too, because you did talk to him at the Combine. You asked him what he needs to improve on. And so I think, Kristen, if we got that tape back there, if we see the guy, Kenneth Grant, the guy here.
But what's the area of your game either you hear from evaluators or through your own words where you just go, I got to get better at this in the NFL?
Just pass rush, stop trying to be finesse, just work off my power. I think I know I could rush the passer pretty good, it's about honing down on my technique.
So in specifics of those techniques, what do you mean? Sometimes you try to dance too much, or you don't just attack and kind of use the power move as your first thing to go off of?
Yeah, just trying to use the power move first thing I go off of.
Right.
I stop dancing then.
He needs to stop dancing. Did you see that on the tape? He needs to stop dancing.
I do. But what you do see, too, is go, damn, he can dance and win with quicks, which is crazy. But, yeah, are there times where you just go, just push this guy back and dominate him? And as I feel like as the season goes on, you see more and more of that. So that's where he's really a special player. And as I told you before, right, the eyes in the backfield, he tips a lot of passes. He's very good at that. And I think he's one of the safest picks in the draft. He's one of the safest. You can't go wrong with this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, his worst thing will be, he's our starting D tackle for 8 years, right? That's as worst as it's going to get. He is not going to be a bust. I feel very confident in saying that.
Something about these guys from Michigan. You got two Michigan Wolverines, 1 and 2, and then you have a Michigan native, also someone I know you liked a lot. Detroit, Michigan native, 6'4", 313, Derrick Harmon, out of Oregon, spent his first 3 seasons at Michigan State, transferred to Oregon, had a great year with Dan Lanning and that crew over there.
A lot like a Kenneth Grant, maybe a little more longer, maybe a hair more athletic than Kenneth Grant, all right? So he's not quite as stout. It doesn't have the belly in the middle. This is a little bit more of a well-put-together big human being. Right, this is your Richard Seymour type of guy where you're just like, whoa, holy cow, he's just big everywhere, and his arms are long and square shoulders. 6'4.5", 313, 34 and 3/8-inch arms, ran a 4.95. Again, a 1.74 in the 10. That's pretty insane. He's more athletic than Grant from Michigan, not as stout with him as double teams or anchoring in. That's what I rep. But he can disrupt. He runs really well. He's got good quicks, shoots the gaps, and does all of that stuff, right? Let me see. 2-gap teams are going to love him. And that's the first thing you notice about him is that his length and his ability to get his hands on you and control the blocker really jumps out. That would probably be like, I always like, I like to write my first thing that jumps out. And him, that was it. He locks his arms out, and he's hard to move after that. So once he gets you and does this, it's kind of like, no, the play's over. You're not moving him. In fact, you just got to hope you don't get moved. And then he's awesome with those heavy Michigan hands that you're talking about to throw people off like they're nothing and go get the ball. So that's where I like him. He's a little bit of a hybrid from, Grant to an athletic D tackle. He's got a little more athleticism than a Grant, but I still think in theory very similar that way. Maybe a little bit more. You could put him on the edge as a 5 technique that way altogether. He gets pushed back and moved on the double teams a little more than Grant and does all that. Also that. He's a little long-legged and has a high-cut waist, so he doesn't anchor quite as good. But he's more athletic. He's more athletic than Grant, and he's a little bit more potential to be disruptive, right? But he's still a run-stopping type, and he's got a little more pass rush value than Grant. I wrote too. This kid is a good athlete for his size. I mean, he could play crash end if he wanted to, which is strong side 4-3 defense end. I wrote, I like Grant better, but this kid is a first rounder. So, and I wrote 20 to 32, and I think that's generally where we're going to see him go off the board.
We do have some video of him at his pro day as well. He told us he models his game off of Cam Hayward and Chris Jones, and he said he wants to improve winning on his first move at the combine is what he told you.
You see that body there? It's pretty damn good. The way he moves, though, right? It's not quite as stout and as big in the middle as a Kenneth Grant, right?
Yeah.
So you can see that this is what I mean. He's just got a little more value to be disruptive, athletic, all of that. He's not as stout as Grant, but his ability to two-gap and hold people just one-on-one like this and disengage is every bit as good as Grant. So, again, this is a guy, yes, I could see the Chargers liking him there. The Steelers liking him, definitely. He would fit that mold of type of football player, big football player who's going to help you win football games and probably go unnoticed a lot of the time.
You like the Michiganders. That's no surprise to me.
No surprise.
No surprise to anyone, too. You like some of the guys from Texas. We've talked about some at different positions. Now we're at defensive tackle, and out of all the big guys, we got a big guy that's like, man, that guy's got a couple inches on some of these guys.
He does.
6'6", 332, Alfred Collins from Texas.
I'm a big fan of Alfred Collins. I think that he gets a little bit of a bad rap because of what he was asked to do at Texas. He was asked to two-gap a lot, right? So you don't get to see disruption and all that. But don't get confused. He is a pretty damn good athlete. But like you said, 6'6", 332, and crazy long arms, 34 and 5/8. Again, the arm length thing is a real thing in the NFL. There are some transferable things about the length and arm length to the player that really stand out, especially when you're asking him to do certain things in a scheme. Legs are good, right? Has a good athletic look. He's the biggest D tackle yet, like you said. It's really an incredible look to paint a picture. It's a huge guy with the longest arms and long legs with thickness in the legs. First thing you notice, other than the size, is his ability to strike with those big arms. A lot like the guy we just talked about and Harmon from Oregon. His ability to the initial blow stuns people, and he controls them. And once he locks his arms out, you're done. You're at his mercy, right? So, and he was definitely one of the best in the draft as far as getting off blocks. Another guy loose and flexible. I think he's more stout than our guy from Oregon, Derrick Harmon.
Okay.
But maybe not quite as stout as Kenneth Grant. But he's got more ability to do some athletic stuff too, though. That's the big thing. He's got good quicks. He's got bend. He's going to be able to win on the pass rush, right? As a 3 technique, I'm passing down. You're going to be able to put him at 3 technique and go beat the guard. Get to the quarterback. Do that. He can do that. He's a player. He will what did I write here? I can't write. All right. Something about he will thrive as a two-gapper. Excuse me. Thrive. His ability to lock out arms, disengage, is the best I've seen yet. He's great versus double teams. Shade nose tackle, 5 technique. He can do it all. But the teams that value the two-gap, hold your ground will like him best. He's not as disruptive as the Georgia or Toledo kid, but he can still do it. but better all-around player. There's no doubt about that. You don't have to worry about this kid at all at the next level. He's one of the safest picks I've seen yet, and I wrote 25 to 40.
Okay, it does make Pete and I feel good when you can't read your own writing,
good.
too. It makes us feel a little bit better about our inability
I
to do
definitely
that.
have a few. Thank you.
He is projected to go late round 2, early round 3 in some mocks out there. He is a cousin of Trent Brown, so being big, a big giant human runs in the family there. He was a 5-star recruit, 5 years at Texas, so he's an older recruit. Turns 24 in October. Played behind Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat. No shame in that.
They've had some D linemen down there, so you're gonna have to wait your turn a little bit. There's no doubt about that.
We should show his heptagon because it is awesome to look at that. It's height, weight, we're like 90th percentile, wingspan 97th. He did a couple of the athletic drills, and those didn't go that well. The broad jump 4th percentile, but that's not why you're drafting him.
I think with a guy like this, and I'd be shocked if he's on the board past 45 or 50. I really would be. As I get to my old saying again, there's just not too many people built this way on the planet that are still athletic like this. And I think the ones that really know what they're looking for are going to go. He wasn't allowed to be disruptive or make those type of plays. He was asked to do some of the non-sexy stuff for that defense, and he did it at a very high level. Right, and I think that he'll be valued in the NFL more than he will be by just the evaluators and the media and all that.
2 more guys we want to touch on before we reveal your final top 5 DTs, and this is another Ole Miss player, J.J. Pegues, and he is 6'2.5", 309. He grew up in Mississippi, so stayed local to college there. 2 seasons at Auburn, actually, and then went back local, 3 seasons at Ole Miss, and so he turns 24 in November, older prospect. What'd you think of him?
I liked him. I liked him better than his teammate Nolen, okay?
Oh, wow.
I did. He's another guy that I wrote 35 to 50, okay?
Ooh, wow.
Yes. I look at him, and one of the names I wrote down is Milton Williams. This, to me, is the Milton Williams of the draft. Maybe a Kobe Turner, right? He's that kind of guy. He's physically explosive. He takes on blockers. He delivers blows, right? And he's a little bit bigger than those guys that I just mentioned. Has really good hands. Plays hard and intense. I like it. Of course, he played tailback, too. Let me just mention that.
7 touchdowns.
Right? Yeah. He's more stout and more disciplined than his counterpart in Nolen, right? Has legit pass rush value, just like in Nolen and like some of these other guys we've talked about, you know. At D end, he plays D end, like legit plays D end, and it's impressive when he does it. Like has bend around the edge like one of the good D ends, not like the top tier D ends, but up there, right?
At 310 pounds.
Exactly. So, and the fact that they let him do that, I think that tells you a little something too, right? There's something there. His get off is good. It might not be as good as the Michigan kid, or the Tennessee kid I wrote. But overall, he's twitchy, right? Good quicks. Lines up a DN a good amount. That tells you something. Runs really well. Played running back. He is stout, good player. Not as good as the 2 Michigan guys or the Oregon kid, right? But he's going to be in the running right after that group right there. And that's where I wrote 35 to 50.
PFF says about Pegues, he's still learning how to play defense, which is evident by his slow reaction time on some runs. He was a 4-star recruit as a tight end.
Wow.
Going to
Did
college.
not know that.
Played tight end as a true freshman. And then you mentioned all the times they gave him the football this past year. And so he's a guy at 310 pounds again.
I think there's untapped potential with him. I think it's only going to get better.
Round 5 right now.
Is it round 5?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm a little surprised by that. I thought you were going to say another like round 3-ish something there. I wonder if there's something there that I don't know about. I'd like to hear why people have him that far down.
Some of the scouts meant his motor and making sure it is consistent to go all the, so who knows, but
okay.
You like the player on tape. What about the Ohio State player? Our last guy we'll talk about here, Tyleik Williams, who right now is projected to go round number 2.
I know I'm kind of being viewed as the Georgia Ohio State haters of the world right now.
Well, I think only because you hate all their players, so that would be the only reason why.
I don't. I don't hate their players, and I did say Ohio State would win the national championship before we started college football last year. I mean, I understand the talent there, but I think sometimes within the collective of being so good, individually they're getting a little overrated, okay? If that makes any sense to you. He's a big run-stopping type D tackle. That's who he is. This is a run stuffer all the way. Legs are pretty good, huge big butt. He gets off the ball well for 334 pounds. But the thing that I think I came away with more than anything is I was more impressed by, at 334, his athleticism than I was his stoutness, right? And at that time, I don't think the athleticism is going to be good enough to where I'm going to go, oh, that's going to translate to he'll do that all the time in the NFL. I go, okay, yeah, he could do it in college. But the stoutness was less than. That's what I couldn't get. His anchor wasn't very good for his size. At 334, he does get pushed around. He doesn't use his arms or his hands. He kind of tries to bowl everybody just with his chest and his shoulders. And if that doesn't happen, then he's kind of stuck. But there's no, as I talk about, the striking of the hands, right? The good ones are in a three-point stance, boo 42, side, and their hands are up on the shoulders or underneath the shoulders of that offensive lineman before they can even get in a defensive posture, right? And they then, therefore, control the play from that moment. He doesn't have any of that. He catches O-linemen too much, is what I wrote. Doesn't know how to use arms or upper body, does have shorter arms, and he's not very great. He's not great at disengaging or getting off blocks. Just too easily blocked one-on-one at times for 334 pounds. He tries to bowl you over the shoulder, like I said, but he never really physically dominates. He's better at shooting gaps and getting skinny than he is playing physical run-stopping defensive tackle type of stuff. And that is where I know I'm lower than most on this guy. I wrote end of second, early third. That's where I kind of see it. 65 to 85 is kind of where the range I see him. I wasn't thoroughly impressed.
So
there.
not your cup of tea.
Not my cup of tea.
But that's okay. You know the guys who were your cup of tea?
Yeah.
All the ones in your top 5, which we can reveal now. You may have been able to piece it together, but here's your final top 5, Chris.
Yes, it is. Mason Graham, I think we know why he is. He's rare bird, rare guy in this draft altogether to be that big and move the way he does. The two run stoppers who got some athleticism and more potential athletically than I think they're getting credit for in Grant and Harmon. And then Alfred Collins and Alexander are safe, right? High floor and high ceiling. I think there's stuff there that can get better and make them true forces in the NFL. But I feel the most comfortable about this group as it being the best 5 and the ones that I see the least flaws with, right? That's what I really like about this group altogether. And then, of course, we went through a few of the guys that I like that are outside of the top 5.
So it's pretty much a lock that Abdul Carter will be the number 1 defensive lineman when you take edge and defensive tackles together drafted in the NFL draft. DraftKings wants to know, or is telling us who they think is going to be the second defensive lineman drafted, and it is your number 1 defensive tackle, minus 550 right now. So that would not be a surprise to see him the second DL off the board.
Well, I'm actually shocked at this number right here.
Oh, you wouldn't think it's
second.
Oh, to be the second pick.
Oh, to second
to
pick.
be the second pick. Yeah, so
okay.
So he's projected to be the first one. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I
Good thing you didn't bet without asking us.
Hey, you're
first
right.
Here.
I didn't quite understand that. That would have gone right over my head. But yes, I would be shocked if it's not Mason Graham. I would not. I would be shocked. And that's where, again, it's Shamar Stewart. You see that.
Look at that. That's
interesting, right?
Well, there we go.
It's interesting. I have a hard time thinking that the NFL people aren't going to like Shamar Stewart. Again, I think some of the tapes they're watching tapes that, again, their systems can calculate pressures, disruption, plays that disrupted offensive plays. And again, I'm not tabbing these type of things, but in my mind's eye, I want to go, Shamar Stewart did as much as anybody. I don't give a shit about the sack numbers. So that I will not be shocked if he's the third guy off the board, especially. And I guess I'd be shocked if he was the second guy. Yes, I would be. But Mason Graham, yes. You're not going to win much money if you bet on him to be the second.
So let me ask you. Say someone is in love with Mason Graham, and that Abdul Carter bet's not the craziest thing in the world. Is that possible? Some team likes Mason Graham or fits what they need. Because the Giants, it's all about who's there too, and the Giants seem.
It's the Giants, right? Yeah. And then I think the Patriots thing is probably real too, where they go, wait, we got some people on the inside. We just got Milton Williams. We got Barrymore. We got some big people. We need some guys that can rush the passer a little bit. That's where I think it kind of, fixes itself there. And Abdul Carter, as we talked about the other day, is just special. It's a rare athlete that you don't see come out very often, and he's a definite top 3
But
pick.
if you're an NFL team that needs a defensive lineman, this is your year. Because you can get him round 1, round 2, round 3, who knows, even maybe round 4.
Well, what are we talking about here so far? I mean, the other day we said 6 defensive edge guys. There could maybe be 7.
Yeah.
Right? And now here we are on another day where I don't think there's any doubt there's 3 D tackles. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Is there 4 or 5?
Yeah.
I think that's where we get to. The 2 Michigan guys, the Oregon guy, they're guaranteed first round. Don't even think about it. There's no doubt about it. It's just is the Texas guy, does maybe the Toledo guy, does one of the Ole Miss guys, does Nolen, does he squeeze into the second round? But, I mean, as we're sitting here right now, would I be shocked if we saw 10 D linemen off the board out of the first 32 picks? No, I would not be shocked.
You know what teams are going to need to do? Start drafting some offensive linemen to block some of these
I think
guys.
that's another thing we're going to see as I'm getting into O-line, and the more I'm seeing this, I think you're going to see a number of O-linemen and tackle drafted in the first round too, which is going to, again, kick some of these other guys that people think are these sexy skill guys that maybe I'm not so sure about or whatever else. It's going to kick them down the road a little bit because we already know there's a problem in the NFL. There's a problem in the NFL. There's way more quality defensive linemen than there are offensive linemen.
About to be more.
And there's about to be more. But these good offensive linemen, there's going to be a premium on them at the top of the draft, the guards and the tackles and some of the centers where they're going to go, we got to get these guys. Like, we're not going to be able to play the Philadelphia Eagles and block anybody on their front if we don't start to get some of these guys, right? And that's what you got to worry about.
DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook for live betting. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly.
Just download the app and use the promo code UNBUTTONED when you sign up.
DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours.
Sorry, I scrolled too fast. I missed the read there a little bit.
You got a lot. You're juggling a lot of things. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
When Pete gave me this rundown, I was like, this is an ambitious rundown. We got Connery. We got a first-round mock. We've got your DTs. We're breaking them up into 2 groups. You did it.
We did
Chris.
it. Hour 32, hour 33,
maybe.
That's all right. We give the people what they want. In-depth football analysis.
Yeah.
And guess what? We'll be back Monday to do more. We got lots of stuff going. We got, secondary on Monday?
Is that Monday already?
Yeah,
Holy
secondary
crap.
Monday. That's another interesting conversation. We got O-linemen I still got to get to next week. So we got a heavy-duty weightlifting week here of player prospects that are still to be done. And I'm working through it, and I'll be working all weekend is what I'll be doing. So everybody keep sending the questions. You know where to find us. Subscribe, rate, review. Ahmed Fareed, thanks as always for driving the ship. Thanks to Connor Rogers coming in here doing the mock draft. We really appreciate that. He always gives us a different perspective. All right, everybody, peace out. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the Masters. We'll see you Monday here for more draft talk. Peace out, homies. Clap it up. Thanks for watching Chris Simms Unbuttoned. Hey, just because the season's over, it doesn't mean we're over. We ain't going anywhere. The NFL never dies.
We're staying right here. Hit subscribe. We got every NFL move. We'll react to that. Plus, Chris has got 4,719 draft prospect profiles to do.
Thanks again for watching. Subscribe. You know where to find us. Peace out, homies.